Chapter 4, Police Strategies, Part 2. Your book details and describes a bunch of strategic developments that have occurred over the last 40, 50 years, really since the 1970s. We keep going back to the 1970s, and again, to refresh your memory, that was largely because that's when the federal government started to really throw a lot of money at policing, and especially the study of police, and this really catalyzed researchers to take policing as a topic seriously and to really devote some time to it. And so that's when we see the genesis of a lot of these studies that have produced second and third generation, fourth generation even, of police researchers. So these strategic developments that we've seen over the last 50 years or so include such things as, you can see here, better crime analysis. So even though I talked in the last PowerPoint discussion about the fact that detectives aren't very effective at solving crimes, they do seem to be getting better. We're not tremendously better, and not, we aren't jumping from a 20% crime resolution, case resolution rate to 100%, but we're getting better. CSI is getting better. Forensic studies is getting better. We're giving police better training. So crime analysis is getting better. We still have a long way to go, but we are using more and more tools to figure out who committed a crime, to gather evidence, to help to secure convictions, all of these kinds of things. Directive patrol is another development. When we talked about the patrol studies, we said general patrol isn't very effective as a crime-fighting tool. But directive patrol seems to be much more effective. And what we mean by directive patrol is we really study a crime and we figure out what its true character is, what its true nature is, and that's where we put our resources. And so, for instance, at Penn State, State Patty's Day, we have, this artificial holiday that was created so that people could come to State College and drink in, February before spring break. And so the State College Police did a lot of analysis after the first couple of years of State Patty's Day, and they found that the drinking didn't occur uniformly across the whole day. Instead, there were peaks and valleys. And so this was pretty consistent year to year, when these peaks, when these valleys would occur. And so then the police could devote their resources more specifically to those time periods. They could if they wanted to put more officers on the streets, they had a better idea where were the hot spots, so to speak, in State College, where was most of the drinking going to occur, and at what time. So that was more effective to put those officers on those locations at that time than to spread them out throughout the entire day. Or maybe in your city there are a bunch of muggings that are going on in a park. And so we study them, we find out, well, they're really only going on late at night. So it doesn't make sense to have more patrol officers in the park during the day, or maybe it's not even the entire park. If we think of a big city park like Central Park, we could maybe locate the police in one particular area and do some directive patrol there, rather than across the whole park, across the whole day. So directive patrol, it's more focused, it's more based on our analysis of the crime, and so therefore it's likely to be more effective. The differential police response, this was a result of those police response time studies, and so again, we can prioritize our calls. We can say this one's an urgent, we need to get the police there right away with lights and sirens, or this is one that can wait a while. This is one of those that is we'll get to it when we can get to it. And if we're honest with the caller and say, hey, we're a little busy right now, your call isn't a high priority, but it is important to us, we will get to it, we can do that. And in for some calls, maybe the police don't even respond at all. We tell the caller, you need to contact this other agency. I know some police departments, for instance, won't unlock cars that the owners have locked by accident. So when someone calls up and says, hey, I locked my keys in the car, can you get me out? The police will say, we don't do that, but here are some different towing companies and others and AAA and whoever else who can do it for you. People might get a little bit mad, but that's a better use of police resources. And finally, case screening. We can do this with detectives. We can do it with others, where we actually go through the cases and decide, are these ones we're likely to solve? Are they not? Which ones do we have a better chance of solving? Which ones should we be dealing with as a top priority? Other strategic developments include trying to improve police-community relations. So we realized with some of the studies from the 1960s, 1970s, that the police had become too detached from the public. And so therefore the police need to rediscover those 9 principles of policing, especially all of those principles that dealt with police accountability and having good relationships with the public. And so the police strive to do that, in beginning with the development of community policing, but they really tried to involve and engage the public more. They can still go a lot farther. I don't, as I said when I covered community policing, I don't think we've really done a whole lot of community policing. I think we're still doing traditional reactive policing. But nonetheless, the police have worked with the communities to help them to understand crime better and to prevent crime. We even see this here at Penn State on campus. I don't know if the university police still do it, but I know they used to go around at the beginning of each semester, walk through the library, and if they saw books that were left on the table or laptops or other personal belongings that were left unattended, they would put a little card on top of those belongings and to tell the owner that, hey, even though this is Penn State and there doesn't seem to be a lot of crime, you could have been ripped off. And so that's just a real basic way to do crime prevention, but it is telling the person that, yeah, even though this is a pretty safe campus, you still have to watch your stuff. Don't leave your laptop lying out on a library table because it may walk away with somebody else. So that's a form of community crime prevention, but there are other more sophisticated ways. I mean, there are some programs that don't work very well that we still do, like DARE, the drug program. Probably a bunch of you went through it when you were in school. It doesn't seem to be very effective, but yet we still do it. And that's an attempt to prevent crime by working with the community. Doesn't work very well, but it is an attempt. So some of the things that the police can do to get better crime prevention, they can try to build a stronger sense of community, because we have some communities where people just don't know each other and they don't think of each other as living as members of one single community. They're individuals living apart from each other behind closed doors. So the police might have to be the ones who actually create a community. So foster a stronger sense of community is important. Another thing the police have been engaged in more as we've developed community policing is to try to improve the community image and environment. So the police might be the ones who really take the lead to make people think, have a higher satisfaction with their community, to think better of their community. So maybe it involves the police working with community groups or community individuals to take some abandoned building, get the city to condemn it, tear it down, and get something nicer put up. Or maybe they help the community to clean up a vacant lot and turn it into a playground, or whatever it might be. So, the police, even though that seems like it's outside the realm of crime fighting and keeping the peace, it may help in the long run by showing that the police really do care about the community and they want to help the community to make it better. And so it's bringing the law-abiding, decent people who are maybe in a high-crime area hiding behind their locked doors, bringing them out into the community, making them feel like they have an amount of control over their own community and being proud of it if possible. So starting to take pride in their community as well. The police might have to be the one who start this process. They don't have to be the only ones who work on it, but they might be the ones who have to start it at least. So just like improving the image and the environment, the police might be responsible for creating community activities or programs. Maybe you have a police officer or a team of police officers who say, let's have a community block party. Let's have a community youth athletic league. Let's have a basketball league. Let's have a baseball league. Let's have whatever. And so can we, as police, create programs or activities that will foster a stronger sense of community. So our first point that we made was foster a stronger sense of community. Well, can we do that through establishing community activities or programs? So bringing together people to really, again, view this is my neighborhood, instead of viewing the neighborhood as dangerous, as something that they are no longer in control of. Another way that we've improved community policing, community relations, is through more and more team policing. So instead of having the strict military type structure that the professional era was famous for, instead can we spread out even the police organization, so we do more team policing, so that we don't view this as a militaristic law enforcement type role that we're employing, but we're part of this team, and maybe we have even community input into the team, so we invite some outside members onto the team. But even just within the police, we are spreading power more among the rank and file patrol officers. We're not just saying, here's a command that's issued from central headquarters, everybody else must follow it. Instead, with team policing, everybody has a say. All the police officers, we value them, we want their input. What have you seen in the community? What do you know? What do you think can help? All of these kinds of things. So we decentralize police, we place them in closer contact with the community under team policing. Similarly, we see similar kinds of things with foot patrol. So beginning in the 1970s, we saw more and more foot patrols recurring. We used to have them during the political era, and we still had them somewhat in the professional era, but they made a comeback in the 1970s, 1980s, and on. So it's not uncommon now to see police officers on foot patrol in some cities, to see them on bikes, outside the patrol car. Because if we can take them outside the patrol car, they're going to be more approachable by the public, or more approachable to the public. Finally, improving professionalism among the police. Even though fewer than 10% of the nation's police departments absolutely require a college degree to become a police officer, they definitely prefer officers with college degrees. So they don't make it an absolute requirement, but it is going to make you look a lot better in the application process, and they're going to look for college graduates first over a lot of other applicants. So we're getting better qualified police applicants. We've improved the pay for police officers, so that's attracting better people. There are a greater number of police officers today who have college degrees, and even advanced degrees, than 50 years ago, where having a college degree and being a police officer was pretty uncommon. Today it's certainly not uncommon. Many of you perhaps are thinking about becoming police officers, so it may not be an absolute requirement for policing, but it certainly is favored by police departments. There's better training. We've gotten a lot better with our training. We're not just focusing on guns and driving, but we're also trying to teach the officer how to make better decisions. We've established standards for the profession, so we're going to talk about this more throughout the course. There are various organizations that create standards and can even provide certification to police departments. So the establishments of standards, both legal standards through the courts, but also through these certification agencies, has raised the professionalism of the police. And so again, I have certification lists down here. We'll talk more about that in later chapters, where police departments can have their practices reviewed by a licensing agency, by a certification agency, and can get their stamp of approval, which can mean a lot of good things for police departments. But at the heart of it, it means that the police are up to the accepted standards for the profession in how they conduct their business. Finally, better oversight. We have more controls on the police, formal ones like legal controls, the courts, and police oversight agencies, but also just the fact that everybody has a cell phone these days. And police cars have cruiser cams, and police officers are wearing body cams. There's just so much more oversight that there's a good chance whatever the police do out on the streets, it's probably going to be seen and recorded by somebody.